Today on CityCast Boise, we're going to be in the thick of triple-digit temperatures for a bit, so Graham McBride is here to help us dive into Boise's best public pools. We're talking our fave places to cool off, where to take the kids, and why Boise needs a bunch more neighborhood spots to swim. It's Wednesday, July 19th. I'm Emma Arnold, and this is what Boise's talking about. Hi, Graham. Thanks for coming back.
Thanks for having me.
So you, just like me, grew up going to the public pools in the area, but what are some of your favorite memories and your favorite pools?
Yeah, I learned how to swim over at Lowell Pool on 28th Street.
Oh, that's so cute. Oh my gosh.
It's so cute. It's such a cute pool. I used to spend hours there in the summer, and my parents would drop me off at the early swim time, and we would swim and swim and swim, and then they would close the pool to clean it, and we would go and buy creamsicles and sit in the grass and wait for the pool to reopen so that we could just jump back in and get in the pool.
We moved here when I was 10, so I did swim at South Junior High as a teenager quite a bit, and we would go to Lowell and the Nat and Ivy Wild, of course, too. But then when my kids were little, we lived right next to Bora Pool, so I would walk them over, where they would swim from 12 to 5, and then from 5 to 7, they closed for adult swim and to clean things up, and we would go home, eat dinner, come back at 7, swim from 7 to 9. And when I tell you, Graham, that those boys would sleep after that, people would be like, you spend all day at the pool. I'm like, I have 3 boys under 5. Yeah, we spend all day at the pool.
Yes.
And same thing, we would sometimes, like, instead of grabbing dinner, we would grab a little shaved ice at the shack there. And then I loved always that the kids would stand just like against the chain link eating popsicles, like staring at the adults swimming, like, get out of there, hurry up, we need to get back in the water. So I love how universal that is. That's so sweet.
It is. It's charming.
So which pool to you feels the most Boise? Like, it's the most staple in our community?
For me, it's the natatorium, real staple in the community. It was originally a hot springs pool that opened in 1892, which unfortunately in a storm in the 1930s was damaged, and they took it down, and it operated as an open air hot springs pool for some years, but was eventually purchased by the city of Boise and remodeled and turned into the pool that we know today.
Yeah, and the Nat is classic because it has the hydro tube, which is iconic, right? Like, did you always do the tube? Did you love it?
Oh, yeah. I don't know if I spent any time in the actual pool or if I would just spend the entire time in line waiting for the hydro tube or going down the hydro tube.
Yeah, my mom, who is not much of a swimmer, not much of a pool person, we last summer were all there, and we talked to my mother was fully clothed. She wasn't planning to swim. We were all just there, and it was very, very cute because my mom got talked into by the grandkids going down, and she just went down fully clothed because she hadn't brought a bathing suit, which I just thought was the most adorable. Everybody was teasing her about not going, and she was like, I'll show you. And then she loved it, and she went down like 10 more times and fully clothed. We were all just like cracking up. It was super cute. The Nat is so iconic. I feel like Ivy Wild for me is another one that feels really iconic, especially if you have babies, if you have little kids. It's such a great place to take tiny kids because they have the splash pad and they have all the cute little things around and the bucket that dumps, which kids think is like the best. So I love that pool.
Yes, I do too. It's really fun.
Do you still go to the pools? Are you still going now?
Oh, absolutely. It's the natatorium, conveniently, is now my neighborhood pool.
Oh, nice.
And it's always cute to me because it's going back to it being a neighborhood pool. When my partner and I will lock our bikes up, there'll be maybe a dozen adult bikes. And then it's like 30, 40 kids' bikes lined up there, that so many kids have ridden their bike from around the neighborhood. And I love to see that.
I love that too. Well, the summer heat is kicking in and people are looking to cool off because it's going to be pretty hot coming up here. So let's talk best pools in Boise. What are your top 3? And I already know the Nat's going to be one, but what are the other 2?
One of my favorites is Bora Pool, actually.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. I think it's great. It's once again, it's another wonderful neighborhood pool. I love the splash pad as an adult because kind of life hack, the kids gravitate towards it. And so I think that it's one of the pools that has the, I don't know,
Least
more.
amount of urine is, I think,
Yes,
what you're
there you
looking
go.
for.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
It's
Appropriate.
a
Uh-huh.
urine catcher. It's a urine
Uh-huh.
trap.
Yes,
All the babies are over
yes,
in the splash pad, so the adults can enjoy the pool. That's a very good hack, actually.
yes.
I love Bora Pool. As a mom, I always would have to be in with the kids,
Uh-huh.
watching them.
Uh-huh.
Even though my
Uh-huh.
kids were great swimmers, they took lessons at Bora Pool, all three of them. And I am not. I want to be like a freewheeling, chill, swimming with everybody, not thinking about it. But I took a bunch of microbiology, the short, quick time I was in college, and the whole time, all I can think is like neighbor soup. We're just all of us, all of our butts are in here together, huh? We're just doing neighbor soup. So I was always a little squicked out by it.
Sure.
But especially because Bora Pool is smaller. It's
Yeah.
not a huge, it's not like the Nat. It's not a massive pool. It's a little bit smaller.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But like you said, a lot of the babies are out of there. So those are good picks. Do you have anything else?
Definitely. The Boise Aquatic Center, which is the pool at the West Y, is, I think, something that people don't often think about as one of the public pools, but it's important to remember that it's not just open to Y members, but open to any Boise resident. And is nice that it's indoor because it's open all year long. And for folks especially sensitive to the sun, it's a great opportunity to be able to swim if maybe some of the more outdoor pools are a little too exposed.
That's a really good point. If you're somebody who sunburns super easy, you maybe don't want to spend 4 or 5 hours out, sitting out there. So that's a really good point. And I love the Y, obviously, love their pool so much. Ivy Wild, I'm going to shout out again because I think it's one of the few pools that kind of has a bunch of other stuff. Like it has the pretzel slide, the
Hmm.
drop off slides, the wading pool for littles. So another sweet little spot. I'm partial to Fairmont Pool.
Oh, yeah.
We just moved over to West Boise, but for years we lived over right off of Ustick, and the kids went to Fairmont, and as teenagers spent all summer at Fairmont Pool. Like I would have to be like, come home, So I really like Fairmont Pool. Just I think it's so special that we have these little neighborhood pools. It's so like neighborhood defining,
Yes.
which is brings me to my next question, which is heartbreaking to talk to you about. Lowell and South Pool, two iconic, beautiful mid-century pools that were like so integrated into their neighborhoods, sadly now are closed. How tragic is this?
It's pretty sad. Not only do I have such a personal relationship with the Lowell Pool, but they are also really unique structures in their own. First of all, they were the first city pools. They both opened in 1953, and they were designed by an engineer named Wesley Bintz. And Wesley Bintz's really clever idea was to make pools that had a much smaller footprint and required a much easier to build out foundation than a standard in-ground pool. And he accomplished this by putting the pool on top, and then below the pool were the dressing rooms and all the amenities and the pump house and all the equipment needed for the pool. And so you were able to make this full size pool that was able to then fit into these neighborhood spots, next to schools like they ended up in Boise.
And plus, they're just these beautiful buildings. Like the South Pool to me is such an iconic Boise landmark. But I'm assuming like it would be pretty expensive to fix these up. Do you think it would be worth it to bring them up to more modern standards, while preserving this like cool mid-century look? Would you be okay with your tax dollars being spent on that?
This is such a difficult situation. And I was thinking about this earlier today where, there are these two really pretty pools. And the reality is that they, once again, because of this double decker design, they have a lot of accessibility issues. They're also small by today's standards, and they lack a lot of kind of additional amenities that people are looking for. You know, we were talking about Ivy Wild Pool. It's such a dramatic comparison to these pools. So in an ideal world, I would love to be able to somehow preserve that the current buildings, but be able to build out a much larger, more substantial, more appropriate size pool for people to be able to use in the neighborhood.
Have you heard the urban legend that because I'm wondering if maybe the way to pay for fixing up these pools is that David Lynch, famous director David Lynch, who
Mm-hmm.
lived in Boise as a child, that he the urban legend is that he and his friends set off a bomb inside the South Junior High pool somehow as kids. I have no other details on this. If you're a listener and you know this story or you're connected to it, please hit us up and let me know,
Yes.
because this is like an urban legend that I heard as a teenager at South Junior High, and I've heard it talked about throughout the years. But I'm wondering, David Lynch, I know you're a listener, if you could fix the pools for us, since it sounds like you did some damage back in the
Yes.
60s. Have you heard that little urban legend before?
I haven't heard that one. I love it, and I want to look into it myself. It's, you know, there's a lot of plausible parts there, so it could be true.
Yeah, could be true. It's I'm really interested to you deep dive on that, and we'll do an episode just about David Lynch bombing the
Yes.
South Junior High pool. So what do people need to know about accessing these pools?
Yeah, each pool is a little bit different. The pool season is Memorial Day to Labor Day. There are open swim sessions, but it's good to be mindful that they do close the pool throughout the day to keep it clean. They also have, like you mentioned, you know, adults, you know, swim times versus, you know, fully open swim times. The best resource for finding out all the information about pools is definitely going to be the City of Boise website. They've got a great section about pools and about every individual pool. And you can learn about some of those special swim times, which include lap times. And some pools, like the Nat and the Ivy Wild, even have preschool open swim times in the early mornings for the real youngins.
Well, and I think people should know that a season pass, I always got one. I always got a family pass for me and the boys, and it's super reasonable, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, for city residents, an adult pass is $42. For youth and under 17, it's $28. Basically, the math is that if you are going to go over 10 times over the 14 weeks of summer, it pays for itself.
Yeah, and I think that the family one, I this don't quote me on this, but I think it's like 120. That's what we usually paid. So, I mean, and it paid for itself. Yeah, like you said, it paid for itself within a week for us because we went
Yeah.
so much. We were always like, this is clearly the way to go for sure. Well, what do you think? Does Boise need more public pools? Should we be pushing for that?
Absolutely. Especially with two of our pools closed at this time of this unprecedented growth, we are definitely in need of more pools. And in my opinion, in need of more indoor pools. You know, in our climate, it's unfortunate that the pools are only open during the summer. And I think it puts a lot of Idahoans, honestly, not to be too dramatic, but at risk because we don't teach swimming in school because the pools aren't open when school is in session. And because of that, Idaho has a really kind of surprising amount of drowning deaths for a landlocked state. And I think it's really important that that people be able to learn how to swim. I think it's an important community asset to be able to have pools in our neighborhoods for people to be able to, you know, walk to, ride their bikes to. But I know that, you know, a lot of people still have to drive there. And so the more pools that we have, the more accessible they become. And in addition, of course, swimming is just a wonderful, healthy exercise. And I would just love to see more people be able to be swimming and enjoying themselves in the water.
That is such a good point. I think of you saying all the bikes, all the kids' bikes
Yes.
outside of the Nat, and how important that is for that to be something that kids can ride their bike to have a
Yeah.
little independence, like my kids, I think it's over the age of 10 or maybe 12, kids are allowed to go on their own to the Boise pools. And that's such a fun, independent thing for them to get to do, to ride their bike and meet their friends. And,
Yeah.
I think that you're absolutely spot on about that. Well, what are your tips for making the most out of your day at the Boise pools?
Definitely bring a water bottle. You think that you're in the water, but it doesn't work that way. So definitely be drinking lots of water. Make sure to pack sunscreen. Put on sunscreen. Let it soak in before you get in the pool, so it doesn't just immediately slip off and go into the pool. Carry sun protection. I personally like to carry just a lightweight shirt that I wear when I'm out of the pool. It's a very exposed environment. Also, remember to bring a towel and sunglasses, a hat. And another tip is that when you arrive at the pool at the beginning of a swim session, it seems like there's a lot of loungers. But if you want one, I recommend that you snag one early, because if you just hop straight into the pool, when you want to get out and lay out, you'll look around and realize that there's not a single lounger to be found.
That is good advice. They fill up very fast. And then you're like, oh, I'm sitting on the concrete with a 10-year-old. I'm
Oh.
too old for this crap. Well, Graham, thank you so much. This was such a fun episode, and I can't wait to see you again. It's always such a delight to have you on.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks so much.
And speaking of the heat, the Idaho Statesman is reporting that several days in early July hit the hottest average global temperature ever recorded on Earth. And now Boise might be nearing an unfortunate record of its own, the most days over 100 degrees in a row. The current record is 9 days, and the forecast shows 13 days in the triple digits. That's all for today here on CityCast Boise. If you enjoyed the show, check out our Hey Boise newsletter. I would miss out on so many cool events if I wasn't subscribed. We'll be back tomorrow morning for a sweet and special episode with our very own Frankie Barnhill, talking about the best ice cream spots in town. Bye!